canvas, then it's not really painting. You know, it's like, you can kind of take some things into consideration as to what the evolution of art and the production of art and the tools that are out there. So there's always going to be a sentiment where it's like, yeah, I'm not feeling that what's coming up right now. That's all. I think it's legit, but at the same time, if you want to be competitive in this world and do your thing, then you're going to have to get some tools.
See, but that's always what it is.
Right.
You're going to need tools regardless.
Right.
But
if you're going to be creative to be creative, you can do whatever you want, right? Grass and dirt.
Even if you're being creative to make money, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I think with a streamline of, you gotta have to do this, because keep in mind, the same motherfuckers that's doing this shit is trying to eliminate competition. So they're like, shit, man, we do this. You don't need paper no more.
Right.
So then paper businesses go out. Then you like, I gotta go get this shit. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like the mafia. The mafia, they be running all the construction and, you know what I mean? Docks and trailers and all that shit. Somebody try to get some docks and trailers and some construction work. Here come these motherfuckers. Oh, no, you can't. You can't do that over here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Start a business, right?
You can't even just do that. You gotta, we gotta get a piece of it. You know, so it's forever milking you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, you're gonna do what you gotta do regardless. But that shit is fucked up. And there's some evil, corrupt ass bastards milking people continuously.
Right.
And I can't stand the shit.
Right.
Even though I gotta do what I need to do, I still don't condone that shit.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna use my artwork to point shit like that out.
Sure. There you
know
go.
What I'm saying?
All right.
But don't get it twisted, man. Need some corrupt motherfuckers creating this shit. Don't get it twisted. There's some corrupt bastards doing this.
Oh, Lord. So that's an introduction to today's podcast with C Flux C.
Holla, wherever you at.
Yeah, we're right there.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but it's true.
It's true. And then most of the time, we're going to be looking at that phone up there. Yeah, that one. That's going to be you. That's all you right there. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so people can see you well. All right, so we have a good agenda to go over this hour. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. So let's check out what sponsors we have for this episode. Here we go. Let's run with it right here, right now. And then we're going to get started, everybody. Word up.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's sad. All right, so
I just started writing a rhyme
about that. Okay.
About that today.
Oh yeah, so that was already on your mind when you walked in.
Yeah, man. I'm looking at people. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes bitterness be out there. You need a little bit of bitter sourness. You know what I'm saying? It's essential for life. Those things clean your body out, right? Help purify your body. So you need a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of sour, with some sweet. You know?
Very cool. Why not?
Why not, man?
Yep. And spark the mind, inspire people. Maybe there is change and there is inspiration to do other things, and change the process.
Right. So look, this is my first time playing with. Maybe not my first time. I know you and W been playing with these types of things for a minute.
Yeah, we got a couple of surfaces a couple years ago from Microsoft.
You know what I'm saying?
And we've been on it now. But let's get to talking about you and start this podcast and asking you your name, where you're from, and what you do.
All right, my name is C. Flux Sing, short for Craig Flux Singleton. Also got a couple other names, Oyabode, Oya Priest is here. That's dealing with Yoruba, Ifa, things of that nature. I'm originally from Laurelton, Queens, New York. Always rap Laurelton, Queens, right? Laurelton, Queens, New York. Grew up there. Graduated from the High School of Art and Design in 1994, and moved to Atlanta in 1994 to attend the Art Institute. And I've been here for coming up on 24 years.
So where is Laurelton, Queen? Laurelton?
You got it all fucked up.
No, what is it?
Laurelton.
Yeah,
Laurelton, Queens. Where is that?
So it's in Queens then.
It is in Queens. Okay. It's like borderline Long Island. Like you can hop, skip over the bridge, walk 4 blocks, and you in Long Island.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Nice.
But yeah, we was out there. You know what I'm saying?
And you went to school out there for art design.
Right, that was in Manhattan.
Okay, so
I had to take a test to get in that school.
Oh yeah, and obviously you passed it.
Obviously I passed it.
What kind of test was it?
It was an art test, man. Like you had to. It's hard to remember like specific details, but I mean, we had to draw some things. We had maybe a couple like problem solving ideas we had to do.
Was that related to just art or graphic design?
It was related to different types of art. Like you had to do geometric stuff in there as well because the school itself. You talking about photography, you talking about graphic design, you talking about advertising, you talk about cartooning, illustration, computer graphics, right? Okay. You talking about drafting, architecture, like all of these major multimedia, you dealing with all of those things in high school. Okay. So it's basically like, it was a vocational school where you first get your foot in the door with doing professional work and whatever career choice you want to move to. And I mean, by your 11th grade, you taking 3 or 4 classes a day in your major. So it's basically set you up for college.
You like already moving into what it is you're going to do.
Pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah. And I mean, at that age, my class, I was in advertising. So, you had to take psychology. You had to take a lot of different things.
And that's why you feel the way you feel right now. And you see the things you see right now.
Bro, early. And I was introduced to the Nation of Gods and Earths at the time. So it was like, man, I had to take psychology. And in psychology, they telling you everything they do in advertising to manipulate the public. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I know it's there. My teachers was pointing that out. See this over here? What do you see there? And you looking at something and you think it's clearly something, right? That's a vase or it's a dude smoking a cigarette or something that. But it really is a penis and some other shit. And you like, God damn, this shit is crazy, right? They tell you how they use color to manipulate people or children.
To tap into emotions.
Everything, right? Yeah. So you learn all of this in order to be a master in advertising or marketing. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want you to think everything is all innocent and just a case, but nah, they manipulating the whole time. That's why I'm like,
forget all that. Forget that.
It is what it is. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you can manipulate in good way. Propaganda is propaganda. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying.
Okay. So that's what you were going through coming out of high school.
Coming out of high school, coming down
headed into Manhattan for the vocational school.
Yep. But met a whole lot of graffiti artists, cats that was like incredible. Like, you know, you look at comic books, because I was a comic book head. My favorites, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, you know what I mean? Arthur, Art Adams, John Byrne. You know, some of the best, right? Mark Sylvester or Silvestri, I always forget how to pronounce his name. And others. But I go to this school after growing up, looking at comic books and drawing, just like, not tracing, but looking at comic books and drawing it, right? Because, you know, back then, it's like, yo, you trace that.
Right, yeah.
You ain't really get no props. So, you know, after doing that, I'm going to this school, and there's cats that's doing it off the head. And it looked like a comic book, like a professional comic book in 9th grade. You know what I mean? Wow. 10th grade. Wow. I'm like,
you'll be high now.
I was like, I'm gonna look at advertising. I'm gonna look into advertising.
What? Let me try something else.
Yeah, let me look at. You know, and it's funny too.
I'm gonna roll you a little bit this way right here.
Hey, I don't like. Let me roll myself over. I ain't like.
I'm sorry. Get you in the frame.
Right, but nah. When we was in elementary school, they took us on a trip to Marvel Comics.
Okay.
We got a chance to see the office, how they produce comic books, and all of that. I'm talking 4th or 5th grade. You know what I'm saying? So. And they was talking, only a certain amount of people will be able to get in here and this, and that. And I'm thinking like, damn, I need better options. You know what I mean? So when I do get to high school, or because my mother told me about the high school, I didn't even know there was a high school for art, right? There's multiple high schools for it in New York, right? So I get there and I'm seeing all this. I'm like, damn. But my aunt did advertising. My mother mentioned advertising. So I was like, well, maybe I could get into that. You know what I mean? And that's how I got into it. That's what made me even choose advertising to go into graphic design. You know? Crazy.
And so you went through that school, the vocational school. And do they give degrees? What do they do? What is it?
You get a degree. You know what I mean? I mean a basic high school degree, but you are more advanced. Like when I came down to Art Institute, it was like I was taking a class. I was like, man, I did all of this already. You know what I'm saying? We talk about color theory, talk about layout, all of that I've done already. But so it was like I was taking high school again. Right. You know what I mean? I thought I was getting in and I wouldn't have to take certain classes like English, math, and all of that because I've done it. But I had to take it again. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if I went somewhere like SCAD, you know what I'm saying, or art college of art, or something like that. But Art Institute was pretty basic.
Yeah,
it's pretty basic.
I think that's like part of the beginning anyways. Like there's certain things that everybody has to take.
Right.
Just because. And I never went to school, so I don't know. I'm just saying.
Right. Like it sounds you like self-taught all around.
Well, and you know, and yes, the answer is yes. And but I like to define self-taught as I learn from others being around them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
If you sit in a room by yourself and.
Yeah, it's never by yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's you pulling from somewhere.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
You influenced by a lot.
Yep.
So, you know, Art Institute, though, even though it wasn't like that great of a school, it taught me some things about, especially when you talk about digital and electronic printing. Like, it taught me some good information about that. I had a few good teachers. I used to get into it with some of them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Not the art teachers, but more like art history and shit like that.
You debating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, we all came from the caves. No, we didn't.
The first art was in a cave with some mashed up leaves.
Right. You know, but I mean, I was talking to Will about this the other day. Will Fegans, and you know, art history. Even though I ain't really like it like that, it did introduce me to different forms of art, which helped influence my style. You know, and on top of the brothers and sisters that I was around at that time. You know what I mean? You talking about the Art Institute? You know, most folks that I know and still rock with come from there. Talking about Maya, Maya Bailey, talking about Goldie Gold, my man Kerman Middleton, who was my cousin. You talk about Tukey, Samba, Shaga, like City of Ink. You know, you talking about my Neblos brothers who later formed and became part of Binkus. You know what I'm saying? My hip hop group and company. So, you know, a lot of folks, even more. My sister Allison Gay, who was an art teacher, that we supposed to go to their school tomorrow and talk to the children. So it's like, you know, a bunch of folks, maybe even more than I'm forgetting. You know what I mean? But
you stay pretty tight.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Met all of those cats. And my man Nick Wiley, who a lot of folks may not know, we go by Nick Furious, but his style, Maya Bailey's style, like seeing those cat styles help influence me to create my own style. Okay. You know what I mean? And a lot of that developed while being at the Art Institute. You know what I'm saying? And being introduced to those different styles of art. Art Deco, Surrealism, Cubism, MC Escher, which is one of my favorite artists. You know what I mean? Then you got cats like Doze Green and, you know, other cats, Futura, you know, from the graffiti eras, like cats at PNB Nation that I worked with, Zulu, West, Brew is like Bluster One, Fuse Green, you know what I mean? It's like all of these cats around that helped influence me. You know what I'm saying? That was unique cats.
So, do you think that that when you came out of the Art Institute, you had established your style, or did that take longer?
I was still developing it. Like I established a style, but it was still continuing. You know, when I left there, because at the time Art Institute was only a 2-year school. Okay. So I got my associate degree, and then I went to work for PNB Nation in the summer as an intern in New York. And then
you went back home?
Yeah, I went back home because my brother Jax told me, like, he was like, yo, they got internships there. And this is a company that me and him looked up to because we wanted to start a t-shirt company, right? So you talk PNB Nation, for those who don't know, PNB Nation was like one of the original and most unique hip-hop apparel started back in late 80s, early 90s. You know, we used to see them at the Black Expo in New York, Jacob Javits Center, them, Brother Man Comics too, can't forget Dawood. We used to see them young going to the Black Expo and like, damn. Like, I still got my Brother Man Comics from back then. You know what I'm saying? My brother bought them for me. You know what I'm saying? And PNB Nation taking a little pamphlets like, yo, this is official street apparel. And it wasn't like, you know, shouts to Fubu was the most famous. You know what I'm saying? But it was like original street graffiti art. Concepts and cleverness on t-shirts at a level that I haven't
some quality stuff. Right.
Definitely, you know what I mean? I haven't really seen it done like that until later. And they helped start other companies, you know what I mean? So just being around that, man, it was incredible, man. When I left there at the end of the summer of '96, I came back to Atlanta and I went to AIU, and to get my bachelor's in graphic design, visual communication. Met some other folks there, you know what I mean? And just continued growing, man. Continued developing, being introduced to more styles. You know, because I had to take art history again. And man, it was like, yeah.
I think we need to hear you say it, tell it the way you just did, because a lot of artists, a lot of young artists, their question is, how do I develop a style? How do I find my style? And your answer is be around a bunch more artists and learn a little bit of the history.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because when you talk about influence, right? You talking about things that you're attracted to mostly. You know what I'm saying? You see something, because you gotta think about it. There wasn't a lot of black artists out there like saying, "Yo, I'm black, I'm an artist. You could do this." You know what I'm saying? It was like you kind of stumble upon it. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about Gilbert Young, like I seen He Ain't Heavy, He My Brother. I seen that in a gallery in the mall around my way. You know what I'm saying? I used to see Wax images, the artist Wax. I used to see his images all around New York. You know what I'm saying? In stores and galleries and whatever. Right. And I was like, damn, that shit is ill. You know what I'm saying? Which influenced me through concept-wise. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, you see things you like, you're like, oh, that's ill. I kind of like that. Oh, I kind of like that. Just like with comic books, comic strips, you know what I mean? That's those cartoons, those things influence me as well. You know what I'm saying? Graffiti heavily, like the style of graffiti, the looseness, the coolness of it is all cartoon based as well. You know what I mean? It's like creating a style, saying a lot with it not even being so detailed. So those are the things that attracted me. Okay. You know what I mean? My style is similar. You know what I mean? I ran into, when I got introduced to surrealism, that helped me conceptually of how I would want to express my art. You know what I mean? Picasso, the simplicity of it. You know what I mean? And then later to find out that he was getting that style from African art, which made me delve into African art and the concepts of that and experiment with that. And MC Escher, the complex of his like impossible shapes and things of that nature, just introduced me how to play with the mind a little bit, which still all led back to advertising and psychology. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Black Panthers, Emory Douglas, you know, we talking about dealing with helping the people understand, you know what I'm saying? And dealing with propaganda on the fight the power movement, you know what I'm saying? And then hip hop in itself, when you talk about Public Enemy, Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubians, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, like all these things help to influence what I want to say or help me understand myself and what I want to give to the people. And then, you know, introduce all those different forms of art, help me to develop how I want to say it. You know, even to understand that you could do this little line and it says this. It says this much in that little line. So it helped me to develop my line structures. You know what I'm saying? Not even just looking at it, but playing around with it and be like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like what I did there. And keeping that. And then adding on and building to it. You know what I'm saying? So definitely be around folks that you enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes they'll teach you, yo, you could do this with this line without them even knowing. My brother Pope Phoenix, who I went to high school with, he's online as Pope Phoenix. He taught me indirectly how to do shiny stuff digitally. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and I mean, you know, he told me certain things that I help influence. So it's like, it's always there. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes as growing up, you don't have a person saying, yo, you could do this, you could do that. Even if you go to art school, sometimes the art teachers be like, do it this way, do it that way. You know what I mean? They ain't really trying to help you develop your own. Mm-hmm. That's something you develop on your own sometimes. Right. You know what I mean? Just through influence. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and you too. You know what I'm saying? You just constantly hammering out artwork is influence and inspiration. You know what I'm saying? To discover. Yeah. So, you know, it's like that. And
so being around people also helps jump off ideas and processes. Goldie Gold says thumbs up. He just came on.
Indeed, indeed, that's my brother right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's talk about your art style a little bit because you just finished a project. You did an exhibit. And you finished the coloring book.
31 days till color.
And so tell us a little bit about that, what that means and what it was about.
All right, so the 31 days of color was an expansion from for those who know, the Inktober art challenges that goes on in October, right? So years I would be like, yo, I'm gonna do it. And I get started. I do like 4, 5, 6, and then I fall off somewhere. Sure. You know what I mean? Whether it's through work or whatever, laziness or just slipping, right? So this last year, I was like, yo, I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna stick with it.
Okay.
And I did. I rocked a whole month. And, you know, it's fun to see how you could flip. It's always a challenge to see how you can flip concepts, right? So, you know, Inktober has its words and terms for every day.
Right.
So I'm like, how I see that. You know what I mean? And I'll flip my own concept to it. And that's what I would do. And I'll continue doing it, and I'll rock it. And I was like, well, I like all of these original artworks. I'm like, I gotta expand it somehow because I don't want it to just be for Inktober.
Just for one thing,
So I thought about doing a show showcasing them, right? And then I was like, okay, what else I want to do is all black and white. I was like, I always wanted to do a coloring book because me and Goldie, funny he shouted out, right? Me and him one time, we was doing this family fun day with the FTP movement, right? Okay. And we went to the store to try to find coloring books, like black coloring books. Sure. And we went to the store and there was no coloring books. And the sister was like, yeah, you know, there isn't that much coloring books. They only come out during like the holidays or Christmas or something like that.
February.
Yeah. And it's like, even then, it's not a lot. Like, you don't even see them. And we left there like, yo, we gonna make some coloring books. And then you talking about, Goldie did his coloring book, I want to say 2016, right? This, when we had that epiphany and ran into that situation, this had to be 2012, 2013 or something like that, probably 2012. So it's always been in the back of my head, you know what I'm saying? And then I was like, I had the idea, like, yeah, I'm going to do something with it, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And then C. Brooke was like, yo, you should come out with a coloring book. And in my head, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. But that just affirmed it even more. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, I'm going to do these coloring books. I'm going to just take some of my artwork and do this coloring book. And it's 31 days till color because Inktober was 31 days. And I had 31 pieces of art. And it's that whole day you get to the fruition. Like, being that I did it, it just sparked something else into me. So the color, you think about color, you think about life and added flavor and just this richness that you get. So I wanted people to go through the coloring book. Them 31 days take a month for you to really like birth yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it did for me. So it was like you going through this coloring book and you just adding life to it. You know what I'm saying? Through all these different concepts. You know what I mean? So that's what it was about. And I did the show and I was selling original artwork because I wanted people to have original artwork. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times folks aren't able to get it. Right. So I wanted something that they could afford, but dope at the same time. So that's what it was about. You know what I mean? Just really dealing with those black and white, you know, when you're dealing with yourself, no matter what you're dealing with, all the concepts that I was presenting, you know, it's like, it's hardships, it's fun times, it's good times, it's happiness, it's laughter, it's sadness, it's all of those things. That's a part of your life, but it's a part of your life. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you need to find some vibrance in it. You know what I'm saying?
So you're telling a story, and through those drawings, is there like everything you just explained?
I mean, it's not
chronological.
It's not chronologically,
but somewhere in there.
There's definitely stories. Each individual piece is a story.
And
you know
and so when you did it, we were talking about digital and traditional art earlier. So did you do ink, traditional ink on paper?
No, that'd have been ill. You know what I'm saying? It would have been ill, but it was not. I did it digital.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
It was a lot of my digital artwork.
And let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Because I've always admired you and Goldie. You guys have been like artists who I admire a lot. And you definitely have your own style. And when you were mentioning surrealism, and that's kind of like where your art goes into. You know, very, very wavy and
abstract.
Yes, but it's still there. Like you can still see something there. Even in your bike project.
Right.
You know, and you got that. The color theory. You're an expert at it because you kind of like the colors just match, and you can see what's going on there.
Right.
But at some point, when you figured out your art style, the digital became a main part of your work, especially because of I guess of the graphic design
aspect.
Right. So Photoshop and Illustrator were your thing, right?
Right. Because in on the Art Institute, right. You know, that was the first time I was introduced to being able to take what you draw and put it on a computer. We had a digital illustration class, and I was like, "Oh shit, we could scan it and put it on a computer, and then
it just shows up."
They introduced us to the pen tool, and I was like, "Oh, and I could trace this shit." And I'm meticulous. Anybody who knows me with my art, I'm very meticulous with my lines. Like I want it perfect, even though it's not perfect, because that's another part of my style too, right? I like deterioration. I like things to be imperfect, right? But I do have a perfection aspect to my line work, right? So it was like, damn, I could take this out of my sketchbook, put it in the computer, retrace it, and it'd be perfect. Once I figured that out, I just ran with it. You know what I mean? And I just started adding those things. Like, and then at one point, I left Photoshop. Like we was learning Illustrator and Photoshop. I left Photoshop. I was like, nah.
It's all about the anchor points
It's all about Illustrator.
And the handles and stuff,
all about Illustrator.
Control that line.
You know what I'm saying? And I was doing that and doing it and doing it and doing it. And what got me back into Photoshop was this site that all of us was on. It was me, Goldie, Maya, Tukey, Mr. Soul, Domain from 95th Street Tacos, another one of my brothers, right? Went to school with him too, right? Oh, he was part of the BGP crew, but that's a whole nother story, right? So we was on this site, and it's a site for artists. It was called Bad Boy Creations.
Okay.
So it had all these little different things that you could do. Like you could get an award for being the best illustrator, designer, Photoshop award. Like you had all of these different awards that you could get, and you had teams. And Maya and them told us about it, like, yo, get on the joint, right? And this is just online. And I'm like, damn. And it was like you was competing every day, even though you wasn't really competing. Because they used to have these things called signatures. So if somebody make a post, you have your signature, who did the post underneath it. So cats would do signatures for each other. And it was like, damn, I started getting back. I had my Illustrator stuff down, but then I started, other cats was using Photoshop for other things with Illustrator. Put me back in a race with that. And we used to do this joint every day like it was an addiction. We was on it every day. We had team battles and everything. And yo, that helped me get even better with my work and define my style even more. You know what I'm saying? And do experimental things. And you know, I started to incorporate those things in my design work for clients. And that's when I started doing illustration for clients even more. You know what I mean? So outside of just doing logos and, you know, corporate identity stuff, flyers and all that, I would do illustration. And then that led me to doing more portraits and stuff of that nature. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And so in Illustrators, where you found that you can import artwork and finish it and have that clean, sharp look, because that was your thing when it was with traditional art. Where did you pick that up in your art career, path, where you knew you wanted that line to be just sharp and clean?
Oh man, I don't really know, man. I think I don't know. I guess it may have started when I was young doing coloring, like coloring books. Like, you know, they got that concept, yo, color outside the lines means you make your own path, right? I would barely ever color out the lines. Like, I wanted my shit to be pristine color. You know what I mean? So I would outline against the black line, you know what I mean? And then color in it. And my shit would be perfect in coloring books. So I guess I always wanted my shit to be like that. So when it came down to Illustrator, it was the same thing. Like, and then being that, you know, you import your illustrations in the Illustrator, I would do the marker and everything in my sketchbook and try to get the lines as perfect as I can there, so that I'm just doubling the lines in Illustrator. So I guess it would come from there. Like from coloring books.
Because you're still doing it to this day when you paint.
Yeah, I'm still like that. You
blue tape clean as possible so you can get that clean sharp line.
When I do, and the thing is, most times I don't even blue tape.
Oh, so yes, straight
I
now.
just straight do it
with the brush.
With the brush,
man.
You know what I mean? Like, I know W caught me a couple times doing walls for art, beats, and lyrics, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like this. You know what I'm saying? I make the lines first, and then I paint inside the lines. You know what I mean? So it's just,
and that's exactly what you look like too, because you want to be as stiff as possible, so you get that clean, sharp.
So you go
your
down.
Whole body. You're using your whole body. Oh man,
this shit crazy, right?
Yeah, it is,
man.
But only until you do it, that's when you understand it.
Right. So, you know, I think that's where the sharpness comes from. You know what I mean? But, you know, I always like deteriorating things. I find fascination in that. You know, splatter, and there's certain things I try to loosen up with too, even with painting, because there's certain other things that I want to discover in painting that I'm not going to get if I go about it my usual way. You know what I mean? So trying out new things, trying to loosen up with that, because I want to take my painting to another level. You know what I'm saying? And even using mixed media, like trying to figure out what tools I need to create that, because I like, you know, growing up in New York, man, that shit is dirty up there. And I like the dirt aspect of it. Like, I like the griminess. Some people be like, yo, this is dirty, and I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to go home, you know what I'm saying? My mother would pick me up. We used to fly into Newark because it was cheaper at the time. Now it's more expensive, but used to fly into Newark and driving across the Verrazano Narrows or the Gothams Bridge going into Staten Island. And we can go from Staten Island to Verrazano Narrows into Brooklyn. and I'm just smelling it. And I'm just like, oh, I love this smell. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, you go through downtown Manhattan, the Village area, or anywhere in the hood that's grimy, and you see, you know, where they have the post no bills or they have the posters up and the shit is deteriorating. I used to love that. You know what I'm saying? Spray paint, underneath spray paint. I love the way that shit looked. So I will always incorporate that in my style. You know what I'm saying? Because I just like that shit. I just like it. You know what I mean?
So you want to make sure that your sharp, clean lines have a deteriorating kind of style to it and a splatter. But
it's also,
but all that splatter and deteriorating has to have sharp lines to it too, though.
Sometimes, you know what I mean? It's a lot of times it's free. Like some cats, when I use it digitally, and they'll be like, "Yo, where'd you get that from?" Because they might think I might have got the splatter from a vector line or offline. You know what I'm saying? A vector website or something. But I create them splatters on paper, scan them in, and add them in. You know what I mean? In vector. So all of them shits, not all of them, but majority of them is my own unique hand in it. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
That's how much uniqueness I like to add to my work. You know what I'm saying?
Very cool. All right. We're gonna talk about one more thing while we draw. And so right now, so far, you've been drawing. So let me switch the camera so we can take a look at what you got going on over there.
There's a little wild little dude here. You know what I'm saying?
Little wild dude here.
Little wild dude here. With hair.
The natural. Is he crying? I think he looked like he's crying.
Yeah, but it's almost it looked like he crying, but it's like those is tribal marks.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Those is tribal marks. You know, sometimes they are tears. You know what I mean? But they make the person. Those experiences make the person.
Okay, you know I like that. And so
it's like your rites of passage, especially here in America, as you know, black men and women, we don't go through our rites of passage. You know what I'm saying? So our rites of passage are our experiences, and we wear them motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, in Africa, they do have rites of passage, and, you know, children becoming adults are more aware of their path and what they do or what they need to do or what their strengths are because of it. You know what I'm saying? I wish we had those here.
And speaking about rites of passage, that's exactly the topic where we were headed. But first,
I'm psychic.
Yes, right. You set the agenda. That's all. You're the guest artist, and you set the agenda. So let me give you a quick rundown on this app. Right, I showed you a couple of things. So it's called Sketchable. Sketchable is a drawing app that is designed for the surface line of tablets. And the reason
almost forgot I could erase on here.
That's right. Yeah, and you just turn the pen around.
Damn.
Then you erased it. That's right. But
fresh,
but let me show you something else, right? I'm just gonna play it with 3 fingers. I'm gonna swipe to the left, and it does rewind and it goes a fast forward with 3 fingers.
Shit.
So yeah, when Microsoft came out with the Surface, you know, it's all PC based, Windows, computer. You didn't have as many software tools for artists like you do on Mac. You know, even though you have Photoshop and Illustrator, with the Mac, you know, people in the iPad, they have a ton of drawing apps and so on. But so these cool people at Silicon Vendors, they started working on the software that would take advantage of the surface and drawing on the surface, you know, being able to draw, but have actual traditional tools to draw with. And so they've been developing it for years now. I like it. It has the basics, you know, you got the pencil, the pen, the marker, etc. And the reason the reason I like the basic tools is that you're then able to just focus on those tools and master that digital thing, because you were talking about earlier how the tablet, you have to look in one place when you draw, and then your eyes in a different place and your hands in a different place.
Right.
And so those are the things that you have to get over when you move from one medium to the next.
Right.
And as you're coloring it right now, I'm gonna show you one more thing that you could take advantage of. Layers is that if you you did change the layer. Okay.
I did, but I all drew on the same layer.
You did.
I'm just so used to the dang pencil, man.
There you go. So what you can then, so you can color on a different layer. So then when you erase, and if you need to erase those things in that layer, you don't bother that line work.
Right.
You know. So so the basic tools inside Sketchable allow you to try things and learn that process so that you can then move on into Photoshop later. Because when you open Photoshop, and you've used Photoshop for a ton of years, you got illustrators, artists, photographers, designers, all kinds of people using Photoshop.
Right.
And because of that, Photoshop's got like 1,000 menu items.
Right.
And it can get a little bit overwhelming sometimes.
Right.
When you're trying to draw.
Right.
And that's what I like about Sketchable about it.
Yeah, it's dope. It's dope.
Yep. And so if you need to brighten up the screen, we can do that. But that's what we're doing right now. So we're gonna just draw, and you're drawing a guy, so I'm gonna draw a guy too.
Word.
Mm-hmm. And what's the name of that dude right there?
I don't know, man. He's wishing for a woman.
Wishing for what? All right. He's wishing for a woman. All right, I'm gonna do one who's wishing for a woman also. So back to the rites of passage.
I might draw a woman in there too, though.
All right. So he gets his wish.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Got to, man. Dreams do come true.
They come true. So let's talk about that rites of passage, and you recently, I think it was late last year.
Mm-hmm.
You because you've been in the martial arts for quite some time.
Yeah. I've been in the martial arts now. It will be going on 7 years come September.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And with Balagoon.
Yeah, Balagoon Ojatade.
Uh-huh.
And master instructor.
And the martial arts name for that is what's the name for that?
It's Egbe Ogun.
Okay.
Egbe Ogun African Martial Arts Institute.
Okay.
Yep.
And so you reached a milestone. I think it was last year, right? Because this year is.
This is gonna be going about. This is gonna be the second year actually. In 2016, I became a full instructor.
Okay, dang, it's been that long.
Yeah, wow. Right. It's going by quick. Last year I was like, dang, it's gonna be a year already. Yep.
So 2 years ago you became an instructor, and you had. So what was that test like? Because you had to do. It's like a rites of passage.
Yeah, I really can't tell you what it was like outside of intense, right? Very tested, spiritual wise, physically as well. You know what I mean? And put a lot of things in perspective in terms of responsibility. You know what I mean? Because for those that do go through their full instructor test, you don't get no previews. You know what I'm saying? And then everybody test is different as well.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So you ain't gonna get no previews from me. You're not gonna get no previews from me. But I'll tell you this, man, it tests you physically, spiritually, mentally. You know what I'm saying? And when you come through it, you like, dang, I did it. I am better. You know what I'm saying? And you could do better. You know what I mean? So it's definitely, it was definitely something I needed. You know what I mean?
And you've been doing it for 7 years, so by then you were doing it for 5 years.
Right.
So it was a 5-year path already by then.
Yep. Definitely, man. A good path too. Like, I learned so much. Sometimes I don't realize how much I've learned. You know what I mean? But until you put in stress and duress, you know what I mean? And that tells the tale right there. You know what I'm saying? And we constantly go through tests through every phase. You know what I mean? But you'd be surprised how much you intake. You know what I'm saying?
So it's not just like it's not just a fighting thing or a self-defense thing. It's a mental, spiritual.
It's definitely because it's like it's taking loving yourself to another level. You know what I'm saying? With anything, right? You talk about cats that's on a health kick. We was talking about that earlier, right? How I was talking about it, you wasn't talking about it. I was talking about how a lot of sisters out there is getting their health. You know what I mean? And really pushing it. You know, brothers too. You know what I'm saying? But I see a lot of women out there doing it, and it's like, you know, that putting in that effort, that time, it's always going to be a spiritual growth. You know what I'm saying? Because you're changing your whole outlook on your life, how you take care of yourself. You know what I mean? You loving yourself, right? So it's when you go through all that, it's really like embracing who you are and running with it from wherever you at. You know what I'm saying? And elevating yourself to a whole nother level. Right. You know what I'm saying? You bettering yourself. So, I mean, it's incredible to continue doing that. You know what I'm saying? And with the martial arts, you know, you learn about yourself, you learn about your opponent, you learn how you can manipulate the situation. Is gaining true power. You know what I'm saying? Controlling yourself and others. You know what I mean? Being responsible for you and your students, your classmates. You know what I'm saying? So it's taking in responsibility and loving yourself and loving your people and your folks to another level.
And helping lead the next generation.
Definitely. Definitely, man. You know, you being responsible. At least you will hope to be.
Right.
You will work to be responsible.
Right.
You know.
And so y'all hold classes open to the public, or do you need to join? What's the deal?
Yeah, our classes are open to the public. But you know, come by. We over. Could I tell? Who
Yeah. Tell us. Yeah.
We over at 640 Evans Street, 640 Cafe. For those who like donuts, is right across the street from Krispy Kreme. You know
really?
Yeah, but we hold classes.
That's the West End?
Yeah, the West End. So we right across from West End Mall. Right, Evans Street is that block between Krispy Kreme and Star Theater and all that over there. So we hold our classes 2 to 4 on Sundays, and on Mondays from 7 to 9 p.m.
Okay, so it's 2 different days.
Yep. And there's African martial arts. African.
That's right.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
All right, cool. Well, that's it. That's all I need to know. We need to know, and if you need to know more and you're interested, we need to come and check it out.
Right. Yeah. Or you could go to AfricanMartialArts.org or AfricanMartialArtsInstitute.org.
Okay.
And you can find information there.
Awesome. Cool, man. So we're gonna finish our drawings. Yeah. What would you like to say to up and coming artists who are faced at that moment that you were when you saw other artists who could draw the comics and then they were further along in their skill than you were? What is it? What would you say to somebody?
I would say know what direction you're going in, right? Or know that you're not going in a particular direction as of yet, like you're still discovering. Because the thing about it was, I like doing comics, you know, I like comic books, I like that stuff, right? But honestly, everybody asks me now, they see my style or whatever, be like, yo, you should be doing comic books. But I've grown to that's not really what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't take that challenge at the time, but ultimately I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to draw panels and be doing that shit all day. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard work, man.
It's a lot of work. And I give because cats that do comic books, they do that shit with no problem. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a technique, it's a skill. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta develop that if you really want to do that. And I know I didn't really want to do it. You know what I'm saying? At that level. But later on, you know, I know that I discovered that I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have the passion to do comic books like that. You know what I'm saying? Those cats that was doing it stayed in comics. You know what I mean? They done that. You know what I mean? At some level. Some may transition into graphic design. But I kind of knew what I wanted to go into. Like, I wanted to create T-shirts. You know what I'm saying? And I've done that. You know, I like doing graphic design. It was a challenge. It was more of a challenge for me to take a logo idea, a business idea, and listen to this client and be like, dang, they want all of this in the logo, right? And then you condense it down in this simplified form, and you look at this logo and they like, damn, that's everything I wanted it to say. You know what I'm saying? And then when people see it, they get it without even delving into what it's all about.
Nobody needs to sit there and explain it to them. They get it.
That was a challenge to me. You know what I'm saying? And even I do that with my own artwork. You know what I'm saying? Like compiling these different concepts and layers into this one image, and hopefully you get all of those things or stumble upon them as years pass. You know what I'm saying? So I would say to those coming up, like, either have a direction if you know what you want to do. Really ask yourself about what it is you want to do and be honest about it. Or if you're up for the challenge, go for the challenge. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's only gonna make you better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was talking to this sister Dare out of Raleigh. And, you know, she had a show coming up. And, you know, we get nervous when we do shows sometimes. Yo, people gonna dig it or da-da-da-da-da. But I was like, yo, at the end of the day, you ain't gonna do no whack shit. Right. Right? Because I know you ain't gonna allow yourself to do no whack shit, whatever you doing. I'm not gonna allow myself for it to be whack. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna take the time and put the effort in to make it come to fruition. Right. To at least be satisfied on some level. So, you know what I mean? If you meet a challenge, if a challenge comes in front of you, meet it if that's where you want to go. You know what I mean? If not, step off the line and do something else. That's it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then sometimes the challenge might just be conceptually. You know what I mean? Just flex it different conceptual-wise.
So find your challenge.
Find your challenge for you.
Yeah, for you.
You know what I mean?
All right. And are you still doing graphic design now?
I still do graphic design. I got a couple of stuff I need to work on. You know what I mean? But I do commission for paintings as well. I'm working on a commission now that I need to finish. Okay. You know?
So, all right. And where can we find you on the internets?
On the internet, you can find me at Flux Sing. And that's on Instagram. That's on Twitter. Also, I got a Flux Sing page on Facebook. So you can check me out there for sure. All right. cfluxsing@gmail.com if you want to email me. And I have a website that is www.cfluxsing.com. And there you can see my past graphic design work. You can also go to my blog and see some of my personal illustrations and projects there. You know what I mean? I've sold out the the coloring book. So
oh, you did? You sold it out already?
Sold out already. So I got some ideas coming with that as well. You know what I mean?
All right, and that's the sing part right there.
Yeah. Gotta get your harmonizing down. This is the way we harmonize. Let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna stick around and finish our drawing for a little bit. In any case, follow Artist King. All the social medias. Artist King is on iTunes, and you can catch Flux's podcast we recorded like 3 or 4 years ago, and that's still up on iTunes right now. So you can. It's a much longer version of what we talked about today. And but make sure you check out the website artistking.org. There's an event page. We keep it updated with upcoming events and workshops and classes. And then and check us out in a free meetup every second Saturday of the month at General Assembly. And next month we have an awesome program. It's a panel discussion on how to organize your artwork for conventions and sales.
Dope.
So Havana Wynn of Kamikaze Animated, you were talking about comic books. They've been cranking out a comic book for the last 3 or 4 years. And they're on the second graphic novel. They just finished the second graphic novel.
Wow.
And they're still cranking it out. And that's some hard work right there.
Man.
The same character, different poses, different angles, constantly on a different panel, telling that story.
Let me tell you about it, G. I give them all credit. You know what I mean? I give everybody credit that does something that I can't do, and those that can do what I can do, because you never know what struggles they went through to get to that level.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So they're gonna be there. So Havana will be there next month, and forget the exact date. I think it's the 14th. In any case, it's free. Check it out. Come
free.
Through. Yeah. We want to share the information and resources that professional artists count on to run their business, and we want to share it with emerging artists so that we can help build this art community to the point where we get rid of that starving artist title.
Right.
We need to stop talking about starving artists.
Yo, man.
And we're thriving artists.
Exactly. Fuck being the starving artist, G.
There you go.
But sometimes, like, I know the sister Yunny, I don't know if y'all know about Yunny, but she been on this kick about trying to educate folks about art. You know, because sometimes folks think because you can do it easy, like, oh, it ain't nothing for you to do. It's just a hobby. Right? Oh, just, you know, this is the language they use. You know, just, nothing difficult. Just something simple, you know.
It'll take about 5 minutes.
It'll take about 5 minutes.
You already got the paint out.
Right. No. Man, it takes
You're already
time.
Drawing right now.
Right. Just make it into something else.
Make light drawing.
For me, so I can make money off of it.
Oh. All right, so thank you for joining us. Please share this video wherever you see it.
Thank you for having me, man.
Hit the share button. Yes, sir. You're awesome. You're always around when I call on you, and I love your work, bro.
Thank you, bro.
I love your work. I'm sad that you sold out on the coloring books. I know I was gonna catch up with you, but that's all right. We'll work it out.
Yeah, we get some more. I got some other ideas. You know what I mean? So something will come through.
Will happen. We'll make it happen. All right. One last shout out to all our sponsors, and then we'll see you next time. All right. Y'all take it easy. Have a good day. Peace out.